Today we have the Sierra EV Denali Max. Absolutely massive battery, massive range, tons of tech, and an ultra impressive pickup. Today we've got so much to look at. We're going to take a deep dive on the exterior, the interior, all of the unique features of the Sierra, and get it out on the road for a test drive. Let's get started. Welcome to the 2025 GMC Sierra Denali, the EV model. This is the max range. With the trim levels, you're going to get the extended range, you're going to get the max range, which we have here, and later this year you're even going to get a couple lower ones like the Elevation as well as the AT4. But starting out right up front with this EV, obviously a completely different look. It's got no grille because it doesn't need one, and it's got these really unique daytime running lights. They're just flickering on the camera. They wrap around here, and the headlights are actually down there, and then the fog lights down there. These are all LED. There's no adaptive lights, which is a little bit surprising for this price range, but it does look stunning. The GMC logo also lights up, and you've got that whole entire assembly that lights up for the turn signal. What do you think of this front end? I mean, it is absolutely massive, but I think it looks pretty stunning. Now, the paint color on this one is Summit White, and one thing that really stood out to me the second I saw it is that this looks like a concept type vehicle because it's got 24-inch wheels. Those are absolutely massive. You've got large markers on those wheel wells. There's still the GMC squared off wheel wells as well. What do y'all think of the side profile? Initially, I kind of thought it looked like a tadpole with the way that looked in the back, but it's grown on me and it is a massive truck. Now, dimensionally, it's still very similar to typical half ton. We're at about 233 inches long, just under 9 inches of ground clearance, but this does have the adaptive air ride suspension, which we'll talk about a little bit more. You've got LED turn signals back here. The charging port door is right there as well. You've got steps built into the bumper and the multi-pro tailgate, which we will also talk about. Now, when we get to the bed, there's a couple really cool things. Now, it's only available in this crew cab short bed configuration. It's about 5'11" as far as the bed goes. But there is something that you can do, two things you can do to make it even longer. First of all, this is a locking tailgate. You've just got these two buttons right here. It's a 6-way multi-pro tailgate. You still get the step in the bumper on both sides, which is nice, but check this out. So you've got these two buttons, just like I showed you on GMC before. It's the exact same thing. You've got this where you can easily get into the bed. You can fold this down and have a step right there, so that's nice. You've got this whole setup. You can keep it split or folded like this. This does not have the kicker audio like we saw in the Denali that we had before this. Let me go ahead and close it like that. Now, one thing that I have noticed is that the pickup will say that the inner gate is open sometimes, even if it is solidly shut. So one thing to watch out for. Now, with this part of the tailgate up, you can just lower this down. You've got a shelf right here. You've got this section that you can have up for a taller load stop, or if the bed or the tailgate's totally flat, you can still have this up as a flat load stop. So lots of cool things you can do with this, and it's still a nice, easy to move, lightweight tailgate. Now, as you take a deeper dive at the truck bed, obviously you can see we've got this optional tonneau cover. You can get a hard one, a soft one. You've got LED bed lighting back here, and just like you get with GM, the other GM gas model vehicles, you've got tie downs all over the place. So in every corner, which is great. And you'll see that that's a funky looking bed, end of the bed. I'll show you how that works with the mid-pro tailgate in a little bit. So the LED lights are great. You've also got 3 plugs over there, including a 240 volt plug. So that is fantastic. This also comes with a spray-in bed liner, so you're good to go with this bed. Now, one cool feature is this mid-gate section right here. So I've got these seats folded. This is pretty simple. Fold this forward, headrest down. There's another strap here. Fold the seat down, and you've got this hard backing all the way across. You've got a good amount of height right here, so you can put some big stuff back here and not have it on your nice seats. And then we can open up this mid-gate. Now, there's two things you can do. You can get rid of the glass. There's a spot for the glass, and open this whole thing up so it's wide open, or you can just do this. Let me show you how to do this. So we'll do the glass first. There's a couple little handles up here, and there's a stopper built in, so your glass isn't going to come falling down. Get that out of the way. Then you're probably like, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, GM actually thought about that. shove it in here, and this little metal piece slides down in front of it so it doesn't fall out of there. So they thought of a good storage space there. You've got a button on each side that you can do to fold the midgate section down. So you push that, then watch this. Get the seatbelt out of the way, boom. Just like the Chevy, kind of like the Chevy Avalanche. This is really cool, and this is basically like truck bed right here, because this is what is up when the midgate is normal function. But you get rid of your tonneau cover, your glass, your midgate. You've got a wide open area to give you massive extended range overall as far as length of the bed. Now the key fob for this model, there's a couple cool things. So first of all, you've got remote start on here. You can open up the front E-trunk, you can open up the tailgate in the back. And when you approach the vehicle with this key fob, you can have it set to do this or not. You'll get some really cool illumination. So the vehicle lights will light up, the grille lights will come on. It just looks nice. You also have these steps as standard. You know, I wish that they weren't actually standard. They're standard on this Denali trim and the extended range Denali trim, and they're just fixed right there. Not my favorite, but you could always remove them. So the way this works, one thing I noticed is with the gas model Sierra Ultimate, Denali Ultimate, the back door, I don't think, had the smart key access, but it does on this one, which is interesting. So you push that button to lock it or unlock it, and you can have it set to where it will automatically lock when you walk away. Now, time to look at the front seat. So one thing that kind of stands out to me, that side has a grab handle. Those of you that are mobility impaired, this does not, but it does come standard with these running boards, so keep that in mind. Now the front seats, another thing that is odd to me, there's two things. This is not a real leather seat. It's actually an artificial leather. It does still look very nice and it feels quite nice as well. But typical GM seats is they're extremely flat. And I found that this bottom right here actually seems a little bit narrow. I don't remember how it is compared to other pickups. The bolsters on the side are more than what you typically get in GM. But other than that, these are pretty comfortable seats. You've even got the Denali embroidering up there, which looks quite nice. The steering wheel is also heated, and you've got the Super Cruise section in the middle there. We'll talk about that in the test drive. It's also power adjustable down there, and the power adjustments down here are a little bit disappointing for this GM model. Just your basic adjustments, but you got 4-way lumbar support. There's no massage function on here, no real leather, so that's surprising for this price point. The heated seat function is on the screen, so automatically it can come on to a certain amount, but you got to tap that, and then you got to tap up here what exactly you want heated and how much you want heated. I just miss the old buttons, but they're also ventilated, which is nice, so at least you have that. The steering wheel heated button is right here, and then overall they are pretty comfortable. They were a little bit narrow at the back bottom there, but I was just expecting a little bit more for a $100,000 pickup in the Denali Max trim for the EV, but hey, they're still comfortable. Can't complain too much. You also have 2-position memory settings on just the driver's side. One other thing is that I kind of complained about the grab handle for people with mobility issues. With the air ride suspension, the adaptive suspension, it will actually, if you want it to, lower and raise, so it can lower down when you're getting in and out of the vehicle to make it easier. Now, climbing into the back seat, on the door, you're going to see that we still get nice material, as you'd probably expect with the Denali. You've got a couple of small cup holders, some extra storage, a big Bose speaker grill, and an oh-so-spacious back seat. Couple things, though, with the mid-gate setup, you don't have the seats that fold up. You've got seats that will go this way, as you can see. So you can still use this for great storage and fold the top down, but let's talk about the passenger space here. We've got a grab handle on both sides and tons of legroom. Now, I'm 5'9". There is a ton of legroom right here. That seat is where I like to have myself sitting, and that is a ton of room. I mean, just look at that. Foot space, all that, and it's pretty much completely flat. There's a little hump in the middle going all the way across, so everybody is going to be comfortable and be set. We've also got heated seats back here. You've got your AC vents, and you've got more charging ports back here as well. So check that out. In the middle, you're also going to find the usual center armrest and cup holders right there. Headroom is also great. Even though we have this panoramic roof, there's still a bunch of space right here. And check this out. These backseat passengers get so much of a view and so much space. It's a really nice place to be. Now, as we move on to the interior, the interesting thing is that there is no start button. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it is just your typical Denali type vehicle. You've got nice materials all over. You've got open pore wood. You've got some embroidering in here, and it just looks and feels high end. So that is definitely a big perk for Denali. Now over here, we've got nice material all up above, a perforated material here, soft material, perforated material, then your typical hard plastic below. Skinny cup holders, but some extra storage built in. The nice wood trim up there. Then you've got some different options for things here. You've got your lane keeping technology, excuse me, sorry about that. We've got interior brightness controls. You can open up the front trunk or the tailgate, adjust the height of the vehicle there as well. And your trailer brake controller is tucked in right over there, but it is a standard feature. And if we adjust the height of the vehicle, watch this. So we are at normal. You can go down to entry exit. You can go to increased, or you can go to maximum on there. So you can quickly control that with those buttons. And then in front of us, now the vehicle is essentially on. When it says ready down there, it means that it is on. When you get in, all you do is push on the brake. Then the vehicle's gonna turn on. There's no start button. And then you can shift. All you do is basically foot on the brake, pull in, pull down, or pull in, pull up. If you want neutral, you just tap it in. Park is this button on the outside there. After you park, you get out, then the vehicle's off. I don't love that. I just miss the regular start operation of a vehicle, but this is how it is. Tesla's like this too. Foot on the brake now, and it turns back on. So that's basically the off and on control. It's kind of weird, kind of interesting. Now, a couple unique things here. We've got rain sensing windshield wipers as standard. We've got this large display in front of us as well, and with the steering wheel, you can control different views of what you see on here. So it is nice. It's a large, clear screen, but you can't see all of your information that you typically would on there. You have to actually rely on this, like a basic trip computer. All of that info is over here, which I'll show you. Cruise control stuff is over here. This is your Super Cruise button, and this light on the steering wheel will be blue or red or green for your Super Cruise. This is actually a brake regen button. I'll go through that in the test drive. It's kind of cool. And then heated steering wheel, you can control your audio controls on the back of the steering wheel. This is how you change the view of that display. So you can have it however you want. There is also a large 14-inch head-up display in front of us, and it can show a good amount of information, especially when you've got your Super Cruise going. So that is nice. That is standard on here. Then you've got this massive, almost 17-inch screen. It's about 16.8 inches. The one complaint with this is that if you're used to Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, this does not have that. It just has Google built in. It does work well. You can do, okay, Google, turn up my heated seats.
Okay, turning up the seat temperature for the driver by 1.
Something silly like that. Or you can ask for navigation or things like that. It is nice and handy. You can see you've got Amazon Alexa built in there as well. You've got a lot of different stuff on here. But like I was kind of talking about earlier, in order to see like trip computer, you go to vehicle status, and then this is where you can see different pieces of information. So as you can see, 2.1 miles per kilowatt hour lately. Go back, you can see tire pressure, your trip computer, which I think should be stuff you should be able to see on your main display. But look at this. Over the last 1,100 miles, it's only averaged 1.7 miles per kilowatt hour, 1.8 with me, which includes quite a bit of highway driving. Not great, but I mean, you've got, thankfully, a huge battery. Now, if we go out of here, we've got different like menus. So you can go to navigation up there, you can go to your music there, you can go to kind of a regular looking home screen like this. We've got the actual home button, which shows us where a whole bunch of stuff is. And then another thing that we have to rely on for touchscreen is our lights. Just like we saw in like the Chevy Colorado that I showed you recently, I don't love having the headlight controls on the screen. Then you can open up more kind of quick action controls on here. So one of the cool things is the rear steering. I've just left that on, and it does feel like it gives you excellent turn radius. Then you can do crab walk, as you've seen, and then it gives you this little animation. Pretty cool, where all the wheels can turn in the same direction. I think that's pretty neat. Can be helpful for off-roading or just regular parking. But I'm gonna get back out of that and go to regular rear steering. You've got parking sensors. This can actually even park for you in different directions. I mean, this truck is totally loaded. There is so much on here. Go into reverse. We can see our 360 camera. You can also access that from the home screen. Now, you've got different views for all of these other views. So check this out. You can see right next to the front or the back. You can look at the hitch. You can look at the bed. Typical 360 camera. That is standard on here, and that is really nice to have. One other thing is it's a 7-speaker Bose audio system in here. A little disappointing considering the price, but GM and Bose, that's just how they roll. Climate controls are down here. You've got a dual zone climate control setup. So you do have actual toggles for this, like temperature, fan speed, things like that. You can hit auto. But you can control that with toggles for the most part. Otherwise, the seat controls are there. And this is your volume knob, which is pretty interesting. Now, down from there, we have a wireless charging mat. This is nice. I think it looks good, and it's got little grips on here. I've had no problem charging stuff here. So you can have something charge and then push it out of the way, and you've got more space down here. Check it out. You've got one 12-volt power outlet right there, 2 USB-C charging ports right there. Back from that, we've got 2 of the kind of smallish GM cup holders. Check this out. You can also move this out of the way. So you've got a deep bin. You can get rid of this as well if you want. So you can hide some stuff way down in there and have this removable tray, which is nice to see. I can get it back in there. And then check this out. I mean, you've got so much overall space. So I'm gonna move this forward again. And then I'm gonna lift up this big armrest. Then you've got more space in here and a USB-C charging port. We've got a light in here as well. It's just a nice big area and a big armrest right here too. Now, over here, we've got some open pore wood, but one thing that kind of surprises me is that we don't have the upper glove box like we get in other pickups. I think even the regular Sierra has that. And then you have a locking glove box down there, just your standard size locking glove box. You also get the auto dimming rearview mirror or the mirror camera like that, which works great because visibility out the back isn't all that good, especially when those headrests are up. And if you've got the, the whole load thing going on with the mid-gate, depending on what you got going on in here. Now overhead, there's no sunglass holder built in up here, but we've got LED interior lighting and then big visors that slide out over there. And like I showed you in the back seat, you've got this massive fixed glass roof, panoramic roof. It just doesn't open up. Now GMC gives us a power front trunk, just like we saw in the Lightning. You've got a button down here. You can do it on the inside. You can also do it with your key fob, but it's electronic power opening. Takes a minute here, but it is massive. You've got about 11.5 cubic feet, which I think is a little smaller than Ford's Lightning, but it's still great space. It's weatherproof. You've got lights in here. You've got some small plastic tie downs, some metal tie downs in here. You've even got a 120 volt plug in here to plug some items in. It's really nice. You can even get a divider from GMC so you can have this a little bit more organized, but it's great to be able to put large items and know that they're away from the elements. And it even has a drain in here too. Now, technically not under the hood, but the powertrain for this Sierra is pretty wild. With this Max model, we've got about a 205 kilowatt hour battery. That is absolutely huge at the bottom of the car. Most of the regular passenger cars are well under 100 kilowatt hour. That doesn't mean that this is efficient though, because it uses a lot of battery in order to get the 460 miles. So you might average 3 to 4 something miles per kilowatt hour in a regular car or crossover that's an EV. This one's going to be about 2, and this vehicle in particular has averaged less than 2. So you basically multiply your battery size, 205 kilowatt, to the miles that you've been getting per kilowatt hour used, like say it's 2, then you'd have 410 miles of range. So you've got a lot of battery that you've got to take care of here. But the power on this is phenomenal. 645 on the lower trim, and then 760 horsepower here with 785 pound-feet of torque. It is 4-wheel drive with a 2-motor setup, one for the front axle, one for the rear axle. The good news is that there's a lower range model and a higher range model. It's even higher for 2025 than it was last year. 460 miles with this max model, and the extended range is 390 miles. Both phenomenal range numbers. One other cool feature is that you have the vehicle to home function, where you can use the power you have in your vehicle to where if you have a power outage in your house, you can essentially charge items in your house. The vehicle can give you some of its electricity, depending on usage, obviously, but GMC says with reduced usage, up to about 21 days. That's awesome to have that if you need it in an emergency. Now, the charging door is on the back driver's side. It just pops open just like a regular cap. You've got your top charger, and then you can pull this out for your DC fast charger. There's a nice little illuminated ring around it, which is great. And like I said, you have a massive battery. You also have excellent charging speed where you can get 100 miles of range in 10 minutes. That's great. Things obviously will slow down as you charge it up, but you can get a lot of places with that. And GMC also has access to Tesla's supercharger network. So not only do you have all the regular superchargers that most of the cars are on, or the fast charging network that most of the cars are on, you've got Tesla's supercharger network. You will need an adapter though, and you can buy one just off Amazon if you want, or from GMC, to where you can use those Tesla plugs. Now for level 2 charging, it's going to depend a lot on what your level 2 charger is. You can get a lower end, cheaper, lower power output one, or a higher end power output one, and charge at home and get a full charge in about 12 hours. Now GMC also gives you the option of getting a dual plug. So you've got a 220 volt plug or a regular 110, 120 volt plug, to where you can have this cord do either one of those. Now I've got a 240 volt charger at home, and it works great. I was able to charge this thing up without any trouble, and it's got excellent range. All right, y'all, we are gonna do a sample of the Crabwalk, where all 4 wheels can move in the same direction. So check this out. We're gonna move that way, we're gonna move this way. It's pretty cool, huh? I mean, you can definitely use this going forward or backwards, and all 4 wheels move where you want them. It's just a low speed type of thing, but it's easy to control and it feels pretty cool. Could definitely help with parallel parking or some tricky off-road situations. All right, y'all, we are now behind the wheel of the Sierra EV. One thing I didn't mention is the drive modes, and there's even like a power mode. It looks like Thor's hammer on here. That's another thing you have to go into the menu for, which is annoying. I just wish that we had a button. You know, can we get buttons back? Or is it just me? Anyways, you'll get used to it, but you've got your My mode, which is customizable, normal, off-road, or tow haul. And you even have a 1-pedal drive mode, a couple variations of 1-pedal drive, which I will show you and talk about in a little bit, to where essentially if you're not on the accelerator, you're braking. But the thing that I noticed right away with this Sierra EV is the rear wheel steering. It feels very fluid, turning and moving this vehicle around. You don't have to be in Crabwalk mode. The rear steering works opposite of the front wheels to give you better leverage going around corners. Now, 1-pedal drive mode, there's a shortcut down here so you don't actually have to go into the menu, but I can tap on that. And then there's a normal, or you can set the level again on the screen and do a high 1-pedal drive mode, which is like intense braking when you're not accelerating. So I just leave it on normal if I do that, but I don't typically do the 1-pedal driving. You also have a little paddle over here, which I'll show you when you're driving. But GM says this can go 0 to 60 with that power mode in 4.5 seconds. And this is an insanely heavy vehicle, and it can absolutely move. It's a blast to drive. All right, so we're in 1-pedal drive mode, which does function like a 1-pedal drive, where it can actually hold you in a stop. So if I let off the accelerator, it starts braking pretty intensely. If I'm on high, gonna go to high one pedal drive. I let off and it's like hit the brakes hard. Now I'm gonna get out of that so it's not one pedal drive mode. We'll put the hammer down in a little bit, use Thor's hammer for the power mode. But I would say that the ride on this is worse than the gas model. I think it's a little hoppy, it's stiff, it's got absolutely massive 24-inch wheels, which are totally unnecessary. It looks like a concept car. It looks cool, but man, the ride is pretty bumpy and jittery for a vehicle this expensive and for a Denali nameplate. But once you get around that, I mean, everything else about this is so cool. And the ride would not be something that would deter me from getting this. It's just something to be noted considering the price point. Driving it is a breeze. Even though it is super big and wide and heavy, it just feels graceful at the same time for how big it is. Because the steering is so easy, the acceleration is so effortless. It's a quiet vehicle as well. If I hit that power button, pretty crazy, huh? You even get some little Thor hammer sound. And the acceleration is pretty close to mind-numbing sometimes. I mean, it's fun, it's fast, and it sounds cool. But even when you're not driving around like that, it handles nice. I really think that the rear steering on here is a big pro to handling such a large vehicle with it just being wide. It's a wide vehicle, it's very heavy, but it feels nimble on its feet at the same time. However, if you take some corners pretty fast, you will absolutely feel the weight of the vehicle. It is very heavy, and it is not as nimble going fast around corners. Parking lots, it's nimble. Corners, fast corners, not so much. But towing, you know, you can tow 10,500 pounds. You would maybe expect more with the outrageous power numbers, but you gotta remember, this vehicle weighs almost 9,000 pounds. So the total vehicle weight has to be considered, and it's so heavy with such a huge battery because it's not actually all that efficient with the electricity that it uses. So that's a big factor with that. But on the day-to-day driving this, I have loved driving this. The Super Cruise that you get with this is free for 3 years. It works well. It works on roads that last year when I had a vehicle with Super Cruise, it didn't work on. So they're constantly updating roads and the whole system, and you get it free for 3 years. Now the Super Cruise is hands-free driving, but eyes on the road. So that's the way that works. And you've got the head-up display right in front of you. You've got good visibility with this mirror camera. And it's a very fun vehicle to live with, to be with. It's very eye-catching. People are just constantly looking at it, asking about it. And it's kind of the future of electric pickups here. But if you consider other electric pickups, which one would you go for? The Ford feels more traditional. You know, the Lightning still feels more similar to the typical F-150 than I think this does compared to the regular Sierra in a way. But there's going to be other trims with the Sierra coming out. But let's go ahead and wrap things up. Now to wrap things up on this 2025 Sierra EV Denali, it's an exciting pickup because it's something new. You've had it for a couple years, but the fact that we've got more options for EV, we've got more range here, we've got a ton of cool, unique features like that mid-gate in addition to the multi-pro tailgate, massive range, 460 miles. It's exciting to see this kind of stuff coming out, although it is very expensive. Now the good news is you'll get some lower trim level options like the Elevation and the AT4 coming out later this year. So hopefully those are a little bit more enticing. But what do you think of this ultimate luxury EV pickup with the Sierra EV Denali? Let me know what your thoughts are down below and have a great day.